here in Japan for about 26 years, I guess. And I started out in my education actually as a music teacher and was certified kindergarten through high school as a vocal music teacher. And then I became interested in English teaching later in my life and got my qualifications later on. So I've brought those two together in my career and actually did my research on that area, using music to teach English to Japanese children. And but along the way, then I was asked to teach eventually at university level and junior high along the way, even some what we call continuing education for senior citizens. So I think my youngest student has been maybe about 5 years old, and I had my oldest student, I think, was 85. And so that's been so fascinating along the way. Yeah.
Stephen, I think there is no position that you are not involved as a teacher. I think you have started right from the early age to, I mean, you have ended up teaching the university level. So almost all the positions you have occupied, I think.
Yeah, and that's been a joy, you know, to see the differences and the commonalities, you know, so yeah, it's been very rewarding to me.
Yeah. So it's a quite exciting session, Stephen, for me and for my friends. So I would like to introduce one of the prominent personalities here, and Ramesh Garu, and TVS Ramesh Garu. He is one of the famous personalities in my province, and he has been involved in my state curriculum activities quite actively, and for almost maybe more than 30 years, I think. So we are so lucky today to have him as one of our participants. I would like to request Ramesh Garu, and please go ahead and ask your question, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm honored to have you with us today. Yeah.
Namaste, Morganji.
Thank you.
Is my voice audible, Hari?
Yes.
Good morning, sir. It's a great privilege to meet you in the Zoom session. Actually, experts like you, your sessions are very valuable for our state. It is very interesting thing to speak with you. Why? Because you have started your career from music to English. It's a great travel. Why? Because music is very essential in human beings' life. And it is very useful to learn other subjects, whatever mathematics, English, and other things. Music sense is very useful for the children, I think so. Am I correct or not? I don't know. It's very interesting thing. From music to English, how your travel from music to English, sir? How it takes place?
Okay.
Why you are inclined towards English from music?
Okay, one moment. I'm going to put on my headphones here so I can hear just a little better. Hang on just one moment. Okay, so could you give me your question one more time?
Yes, sir. How you travel from music to English, sir? Why you are shifted from music to English?
Yeah.
What motivates you to convert as an English professor?
Right. So one of my transition, you know, professionally, my transition was really a very kind of practical thing. So I found myself living in Japan, and there were many opportunities to teach English and only a few opportunities to teach music for a living, you know. So I made the transition kind of for very practical reasons, but I've found in life those are often the opportunities that life gives us. And whatever one thinks about destiny, or, you know, I think it was, I had a special place to offer my musical insight into the English teaching profession. And I just accepted that as kind of my, destiny is the best word I can come up with, you know. Also, I had always been fascinated in the some similarities between music and language. So particularly rhythm, okay? Every language has its characteristic rhythm sense, okay? Also, every language has its characteristic melodic sense. So each language, even if we can't hear the words, we can recognize the tune of a given language. So I was interested in the common ground, and I thought, what if, you know, using English intentionally and music intentionally, could it benefit the young learners? That was my question. There's also motivational aspect, because the kids were enjoying the lesson because of the music, but also was there something on a deeper level? And that's what my research was in that. My practical instinct as a teacher was that it had high kind of motivating factor.
Very nice response, sir. I want to ask one more question regarding this particular issue.
Sure.
Sir, in what way Japanese literature and culture useful to the students to learn English?
Mhm.
How you utilize the available resource, heritage and culture of the Japanese language and literature? In what way it is useful to develop English language in your classrooms?
Sure. You know, English actually has quite a history in Japan. It was, you know, but always, first it was Dutch was an important language because of the traders, okay? And then English later on. So English was always something about business or about, you know, interaction between Britain and Japanese government, or the United States and so it's always kind of for official use, but for the general public, English did not have kind of much currency. However, along the way, enough people started to appreciate, you know, English literature and English poetry, and you know, the whole thing of the great heritage. So that became something of, in like university sort of, you know, study of arts and letters. But for everyday communication, there was not much. So English was seen as a lingua franca, some way to access foreign knowledge and information. So the years just around the Second World War, English had a bad image. It was the English of the enemy, the language of the enemy, and then right after the war, the language of the occupation force. So English was sort of forced on Japanese people, you know, so, but there was also the fascination, you know, fascinating American culture and jazz and, you know, sort of all kinds of things. So English has a very mixed kind of reputation here. And then when it was made as a, you know, required subject in school, it took on something entirely new. And so it became a part of entrance examinations. So people studied it desperately as a way to pass examinations for university or for companies. Even if you weren't going to use English, they still would test incoming company employees on their English ability. So it took on a whole new thing, you know, in the last, you know, 30 40 years or so. It only, has come around to English for communication. And that's been the hard thing to instill. English is a way to communicate worldwide because of English being used as a lingua franca between people of all nations today. So that's one, I guess, the sort of main thing today is that it opens up opportunities for international communication and study abroad or attending conferences or seminars. So today it's really promoted as a way to for Japanese people to be more global. And that's really more or less how English is promoted today.
Thank you, sir. And I want to know about one particular thing. It is learned that Japanese people learn subjects in their mother tongue, in the Japanese language, even in the technical education, also in Japanese mother tongue.
Yes.
Isn't it, sir? Is it really happen there? Is all the students, Japanese students, learn in technical courses also in Japanese language?
Yeah. So there is usually most major universities will have a division that is English medium of instruction division. So I teach in one of those at Gakushuin University, which the students' main courses are taught in English. And that's a particular, several different very famous universities have this kind of Waseda and Tokyo, University of Tokyo, and etc. However, generally, whether the students are studying economics or engineering or law or whatever, the Japanese is the medium of instruction. Now, they may have to do some reading of English technical materials or research papers, if now, of course, the students, undergraduate students have in university must take some English courses, and sometimes those are simply conversation or practical English. Sometimes it's linked directly to their field of study. Case in point, I was teaching at a large private university in the law faculty. So I taught some courses in international relations and ecology and different sorts. So taught those in English, but within the law faculty. So those were elective courses. So the students who were very keen on having an international career later on, they would sign up to take these courses, So, so anyways, but I would say the bulk of study today is done within the Japanese language, and the students who especially have an eye on international career after graduation, they're the ones that will take these special taught in English courses in their major field.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Lakshmi ma'am, please go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, sir. Thank you.
Hello.
Sir, namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Namaste, Stephen Morgan, sir.
Thank you, Lakshmi.
Yeah, I'm Lakshmi Ramachandrani from Andhra Pradesh. Sir, I have been teaching English for the last 25 years. And now I'm working in the Institute of Diploma in Elementary Education. So I'm very much pleased to talk to you, sir, because it's an fundamental opportunity for me. And I'm fortunate enough to talk with an icon of knowledge lots of thanks to God for giving this opportunity. And now my question is,
Yes.
while going through your profile, I came to know that you worked on how to develop reading and writing skills among the children. Now here we are facing so many problems to develop reading and writing skills among the students who are living in rural areas. And particularly, they are coming from rural backgrounds. So, and their parents, they also don't have any knowledge of the importance of reading and writing. So how can we develop these reading and writing skills among the children who are coming to our government schools? So can I know a better way of developing these two skills from you, sir?
Okay, thank you. I will share some ideas along those lines. I think it's a similar situation that teachers find themselves in many countries with many immigrant communities. For example, the state of California in the United States has, of course, large immigrant community from Mexico or other parts, Spanish-speaking world, and of course, immigrants from many places. So often there's a divide between, the children are being asked to read and write, study English in school, okay? And the parents do not have the skill or maybe interest to back that up. There are those cases where the parents may not be completely literate in their mother language. So there's that thing. As you say, maybe the parents don't have knowledge of the importance of reading, the importance of writing and that. Anyway, one thing that we've learned from the case of schools in California is this thing of it being a broader issue of kind of like community-based education. So the students and the parents kind of as co-learners, So how is it that the students can also be sort of increasing their parents' awareness of the, of the importance of literacy. So and at first that can sound kind of, cheeky, like, oh, so the kids are going to go home and teach their parents. Well, in a way, it's a kind of sharing across the generations. Maybe the parents are struggling with, in their case, struggling with dealing with English in the community. So sometimes the kids can do that, but in the case, in your situation where there are the, of course, regional languages and where the parents perhaps have no need to know English because they get by just fine in their daily life, but how that any kind of language study or any kind of communication can be enriching to our lives. One of the things they found in the California, I'm using that as a model because there's so much literature in it, is the idea of storytelling. Storytelling is universal and I think is the basis of human communication from our great ancestors, who were even before language, to be able to say there's a herd of animals coming that are useful, or there's a danger, there's a tiger living just around the corner, and this kind of communication. So telling the stories of our tribe, telling the stories of our culture. So something where students get involved in kind of bilingual things where, maybe sitting down and telling, parents telling the children, or even grandparents telling the children a story, and then the children taking that to school and being able to tell it in English, a simplified, so this can be a bridge, between and it, and when the children have a way to write that down. And so, so multi-language, so that the mother tongue of the children and their parents and grandparents and the new language of English interact in some way. That's a way they have found very successful to kind of, because it models how the importance of literacy, it models the importance of, oh, grandmother told me this story, but it's not written down anywhere. So now I've been able to write the basic story in English. So I'm, kind of preserving this cultural heritage for our family. So those are some of the things that have been very useful. Of course, it's a different situation. Hispanic immigrants in an English-speaking country, but in a way, it's similar, where the family unit and the school language and the family language can actually interact. And that's one thing I would recommend.
Very fine, sir. Thank you. And how can we develop the writing skills? From your answer, I knew that through storytelling, we can develop reading skills. But how can we develop writing skills?
Right. Couple of ways that I've found successful and have read about. One way is journaling. So the students keeping a daily journal. So in English. So it's not about writing in terms of academically, but it's to keep a daily diary of maybe very mundane kinds of activities. I went here, I did this, I ate that. My friends and I played ball together. My grandmother talked to me about this. So keeping a journal and having a journal partner so that the two children maybe share through writing their everyday experiences. The other thing is similar of having a pen pal, an email pen pal, maybe sometimes in another country, or maybe in the case of India, in another state, where English is the interlanguage, but the two children don't speak each other's home language. So this kind of level of student to student interaction. And of course, the teachers can be invited to read this as well and comment and give feedback, but the emphasis there is on free writing. Then those kinds of, you might ask the student to say, okay, you wrote such an interesting thing here. Now, you could use that as a topic as the basis of an essay or a report. So it can bridge between the free writing, where the child is not worried about grammar and spelling mistakes, just writing free. And then, okay, take that topic that you are so enthusiastic about and write on that for your essay.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir. And can I ask you another question?
Sure.
Sir, as you said, basically you are a music teacher. So can you implement the knowledge of music in developing these two skills among your children?
Wow. So usually the music study is related to listening and speaking skills. However, the reading, one thing can be about reading the lyrics to a song, Now, that could be, one always is when I choose songs for teaching, I'm always one, I'm careful that the topic is appropriate, because all popular songs sometimes, but sometimes folk songs or some popular singers back in the 60s and 70s, the language was very innocent and pure. Today, a lot of popular music, we don't want our kids to be reading. But anyway, groups like the Carpenters,